Welcome back to Friday. We're doing the Friday video. I got everybody here today. We got Seth over there. Say hi, Seth.
Hi, good
We
to be
got,
back.
got Ari down there. Say hi, Ari. Ari's back. She's hype. Super excited. Anyway, we're covering our big old spicy kitty, Magnamalo. Look at this big old purpley boy. Everybody's favorite forgotten flagship on the menu. So, we're gonna probably just be holding up Magna to the same standards as we do with all of our flagships we cover, and does he do a good job as a flagship?
Uh,
So, Ari, why don't you start us off on that?
Oh, no. Just gonna agree with Seth over there. You know, very forgettable, very meh. It's flashy, sure, and it looks kinda okay, but as a fight, it's so mediocre that, you know, might as well be the mudfish from World, Juriatados, or whatever, however that one's pronounced.
Mediocre. Yeah, it's Magnamalo got such a bad hand dealt to him. Like, we haven't. One of the only monsters we've covered that I've said this about is probably Laggy, in that, yeah, it's bad, but it's not. It's one of those cases where it's not the monster's fault. I don't think. I think because we've seen, and by the way, we're not covering Scorn because Scorn's a variant, just to get that out there. But I'm gonna bring him up because Capcom has the ability to make something like Scorn to Magnamalo, and they just didn't. Scorn Magnamalo is what we should have had base Magnamalo. Like, Scorn is everything that Magnamalo should have ever been, but unfortunately, because they rushed the game, he not only did he not get his chance to really shine as the flagship, he didn't get a chance to really be anything. He's not really a problem. Like, when I first played Rise, I was like, this is the flagship fight. This shouldn't have been this easy. Like,
yeah, that's the big issue with the Magnamalo fight is
yeah.
that they make it out to be this big threat, and it's like, honestly, I had more trouble with Tobi Kadachi when first learning it in the world.
Like,
It is not a difficult fight. It is not
I remember beating
designed to be a flagship.
and then like beating him, and then like it was either right after or a few quests later. I got the credit roll, and I'm like, there's no way I just beat this game that fast. There has to, and yeah, no, they left the credits in there because that was all there ever was when they released it, because they rushed the release date on it. And so Magnamalo's whole goal here is to be the pseudo big bad, like every flagship is. Every flagship's kind of your pseudo big bad. They're not the overlying threat of the game's story, but they're like the first thing that really tests you and gets you ready for it. Like fighting, in World, Anjanath was the one. He's not the flagship. Rathalos is the flagship, but one of the loading screens is like when you boot up the game is of Angie. Angie's like your first wall, but Rathalos being there to kind of be a flagship again, to get you prepared for what's to come. And like when you get into then you get into the fucking DLCs, and then there's like Valkana as the flagship. DLC flagships are different because DLC flagships are your big bads, kind of. Well, even I don't know, because even in Valkana was the big bad in terms of Iceborne, because Was Fatalis part of Iceborne's initial release, or did they add him afterwards?
Oh no, that was way
Yeah.
later on.
So it's
It
Like
was-
that was after Safi Jiva.
yeah, and
Yeah.
even in the cases of like in Sunbreak, Malzeno, not base Malzeno, but primordial Malzeno is your final encounter because you fight that thing after Geismagorm even. So your flagships from DLC expansions are usually the ones that are your target to end on, but normal starter flagships are your hurdle, your real test of strength. And not only that, but they're usually the ones that give you the best gear. Like when you look at Rathalos gear, it's usually like just a ton of attack up and crit element, all kinds of crazy shit. And Argakuga gives you evade window, evade distance, all kinds of the white sharpness, purple sharpness weapons. Valstrax gives you all kinds of cracked shit. Like it just depends on what they give you. But when it comes down to Magnamalo, even its gear is not top of the line. Like the weapons are okay for blast, but that's if you want to run blast. And in terms of the armor, it doesn't really give much either. But that's just all speculation into. That's not really what we're here to go off of when it comes to Magnamalo as a flagship. We're just here to go off of like mostly. Is Magnamalo, does he do the job a flagship should do? And unfortunately the answer is no. I don't think he does. Because Magnamalo, when it comes to doing what a flagship should do, a flagship should be there to test you. A flagship should be there to be your true goal until you find out there's an even bigger threat. But then by that point, you're established, and you've got a whole list of monsters under the belt, and you grind that flagship till it gives you its armor set and its weapons, and that helps you get into the rest of the end game.
Yeah, that lets you progress to the next tier of content.
Yeah. But when it comes to Magnamalo, his gear doesn't even allow for that, and he's not even that hard of a fight. He's just not. He was barely a flagship. He never got his chance because Malzeno took over like that. But going into the next part of that, which is it their fault? No. I don't blame Magnamalo for its performance because it was dealt the shitty hand like Lagiacrus was.
Absolutely.
Lagiacrus got dealt the shittiest hand we've seen till Magnamalo. But like I said, I think that I know Capcom could have done a lot better with Magnamalo, as we could see with Scorn Magnamalo. Like that fight is wonderful. I love fighting that thing. That's fun. It's exhilarating because you actually feel like, holy shit, this thing is it's getting in my personal space right now. It's getting up in there. You feel like you feel that fun, the adrenaline kind of in you. But obviously, in terms of, I don't know. That's just my input. I don't know. I mean, Ari, what do you got to say on that?
Really, more of the same. It doesn't offer anything. Excuse us. Probably the only thing that she could remotely give it as praise is that, as far as she can tell, it seems to be the one that does the, she doesn't know what you would call them, but in Rise, the mobs will do the attack where they'll juggle you. So they'll, like, knock you into the air and then time up another attack is to punish people from overusing their wire bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And just juggle seems to be used more than any other monster or it seems especially good at grabbing you. But that in and of itself isn't enough to make it a memorable speed bump on your way to whatever the big bad actually is, as you mentioned. Compared to Tigrex and Narc and Freedom, your first encounter with the Tigrex, unless you really knew what you were doing, chances are you probably triple carded in your first Tigrex hunt. We did.
Oh yeah.
We
Tigrex was a bitch for us, like to get through the beginning.
exactly. You
Oh.
know, and of course, a portion of that is going to come down to skill and platform because, as much as we like to meme about it, the claw
Yeah.
was not a great way to control a game.
It's also a thing of when you first fight a flagship, there's no practice. The first time you fight it, you don't know what this thing is or what it can do. Even with that, I beat Magnamalo first try. That should not happen. I should not be able to be. I couldn't even beat Legiacris first try. I've never beat a flagship first try till I got to Magnamalo. That's not a good thing.
The
Yeah,
tinfoil
no.
Go ahead.
Like, every person I know who's played Rise finished Magnamalo first try without a single card.
Well,
that should not be the case.
I'll ask this after Ari goes on.
Right. The point we were going to make was it's not even. It definitely feels like Capcom were aware of the poor state of Magnamalo. Because this is also the first time in how long that the flagship hasn't been an ambush encounter during a low-level quest?
Yeah.
And it's, tinfoil theory. Screw it, why not? Let's go into the deep end a bit. They probably didn't do that because even people brand new to the series would probably have encountered it and been like, oh, that was supposed to be the scary thing? Because its bark is far worse than its bite.
Yes.
It looks terrifying. It's big, it's glowy, it explodes, and then it's just like, hi, I'm a Zinogre, except slower.
So let me ask, what weapon did you first fight him with?
Oh, good lord. Well, it has to have been either longsword or horn.
Yeah. And, like, Seth, what was the first weapon you beat Magnamalo with?
God, I can't remember how long. It's been a minute since it was on my Switch. I'm pretty sure I beat it with either Charge Blade or Sword and Shield.
And see, I beat it with a switch axe. Like, you can literally go up to this thing with any weapon and first shot it. There's that. That's not good. That's not okay. You shouldn't be able to just pick any weapon off the shelf, go to the flagship, and just be one and done. That's
especially when you're still getting into the late game.
Yeah. And not only that, but like Magnamalo. Your first encounter with Magnamalo is or is it you fight one in low rank, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can fight the flagship in low rank. That's not. You shouldn't really be able to do that either. Like, usually
it should be your transition into high rank, shouldn't it?
It should either be your transition into the high ranks, or it should be like a little. Nargacuga was a little into the high rank at Freedom Unite. I know Legiacris, I want to say, was also after your high rank initiation urgent. Like, you shouldn't be able to. The flagship should not be in the lower ranks. Period. They just shouldn't be. They're not low tier monsters. They're not supposed to be anyway. But then you get the Magnamalo. So I don't know. But what was the point? Oh yeah, I would give him points off of because I gave points to Bracky for being a trailblazer, for being the first monster to introduce Blast Blight into the series. I would give that kind of respect to Magnamalo if it wasn't for the fact that, just like a lot of other things in Rise, Magnamalo basically just has Blast Blight and took that from another source. Like, when you get down to it, the Hellfire is literally just Teostra mixed with Lunastra. And both of them got the Blast Blight from Bracky. Like, all it does is inflict you with a little Hellfire, and then if you don't roll 4 times, it'll blow up. That sound familiar? Like
Uh,
the only good thing that you can get out, because even the weapons don't do anything other than blast blight. The only thing you get is if you wear enough Magnamalo gear, you get the Hellfire aura, which when you wire bug dash, you leave behind that one little pixel worth of fire. And if a monster hits that 3 times, like if they get hit by 3 of those, they trip. That's it. You get a guaranteed trip. Woo, great. I can get that like that with a hunting horn or a hammer. It's not a grand effect that this thing has. It's not unique. I mean, it's unique in the flavor, but that's the thing, is it's just the flavor is unique. The Curios are the same way. The Curios are just a unique flavor of Frenzy Virus, basically. So I'm gonna go off of the I'm going off of Magnamalo is not good. It's not his fault he's not good, but he's not good. So
y'all want to hear anyone something really funny about Hellfire Blight too?
What's that?
So it's roll around 4 times, or you can wire dash, or deodorant cleanses it for you and nearby allies.
Yeah, deodorant also cleanses blast blight.
I believe if you wire dash with Hellfire on, it also leaves that little trail, doesn't it?
Yeah, it leaves the little like Hellfire behind, and that will blow up after a minute, but it won't be on you.
What's funny is that it's a guarantee. If a monster is hit by it 3 times, it's a guaranteed trip, and that counts for Magnamalo too. Why is Magnamalo affected by his own shit? He's the only monster with it. That's as dumb as them giving World Fatalis a humongous weakness to fire damage, but
Actually, there's exactly one other monster apart from Magnamalo that gets access to Hellfire Blight. Can you guess who that is?
Is it Scorned Magnamalo?
Actually, no. Scorn. If we're counting Scorned as a separate monster, then it's 3 monsters then. Magnamalo, Scorned, and Apex Mizitsune.
Oh yeah.
What? That's okay. That's wild.
It's wild, yeah.
That's crazy. But also, while I'm getting things set up, going over into the next portion, real quick. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a unanimous. I don't think he's coming to Wilds.
Oh god, no.
I don't think he's coming. Ari, what do you think? You got a different point of view?
Probably not, unless they take the chance to make it an actual fight. Otherwise, probably not.
And I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna take a shot and say this is also probably gonna be unanimous. I don't want to see him in Wilds.
No, not particularly. Not a fan of Blast 2.0.
No.
Not a fan of Grape Fanta Kitty here, but so where? I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't think he needs to go any higher than B.
He's gonna give it a C.
Generous.
Yeah, I was gonna say nowhere above the B. I don't even think he needs to go in B. Like,
I was gonna say C or D. Like, I get that it's a flagship, but it's like it does such a shit job.
Well, that's the reason why it deserves such a low rating, is because it's a flagship.
But it's also not his fault.
Well, of course not.
So
But there's no standards.
I'd say low B, high C, somewhere in that area. Because he had the potential, but they fucked him. And not only did they fuck him, it's just he didn't even get a shot.
Okay, who's in C right now?
In C tier, the leader is Damio Hermitor, followed by Gravios, Odogaron, Kezu, and Tobikadachi.
I'm gonna be real. All those monsters should be above Magnamalo. That's my personal take.
I don't think I can argue with you.
I'm just gonna leave my opinion there because
This
Magnamalo did such a bad job and uses a blight that can not only be affected by itself, but also like it's just a more annoying blast. It's just blast 2.0, as already said. It's like,
he tries to he
why do we
this
have
monster this monster basically tries to be multiple flagships. Cause he tries to be Zenogre, he tries to be Nargacuga. I mean, he rips off from. He tries to be Brachydios. He's basically just a combination of a bunch of flagships, and that's not. You don't want to do that. Each of these monsters has something that makes them unique and special. Like you have Brachydios. Brachydios came in there, introduced an entire new blight to the game, an entire new ailment. Came in and wrecked house as a giant punching machine. Then you had Nargacuga came in there as a freaking ninja jumping assassin monster that just comes around and starts slapping people, slashing, stabbing, throwing knives and shit. And then you got Zenogre, this giant electric wolf, just comes up in there, just starts electrocuting everybody, and just bapping the crap out of you with his paws. This is all three of those monsters, but the worst parts of them. He's got the worst of all three of them in him. And yeah.
They took the weakest aspects and just tossed it together in hopes that it would make something decent.
They really, what they did is they tried to whole hog it with the theme of Rise. When you look at Nargacuga and then you look at Poke Village, those two things don't mesh. They don't mesh. You know? When you look at Lagiacrus and then you look at the Moga Village, those kind of mesh because it's a seaport village. That makes sense. You look at Tigrix. That doesn't mesh with Poke Village. You look at Rathalos, you know, I mean, it kind of meshes with Kokoda Village. Is that what the... Anyway. It's just one of the things of a flagship monster can and can't match the village you're in or the theme of your game. But that's okay if they don't. They don't have to. That's one thing, you know, it's Brachydios, I mean, he doesn't mesh with a lot of things, but when you look at Magnamalo and then you look at the village, I can't even remember the name of the village in Rise. But they really were like, let's design the village and then base a monster around that. Because they really went whole hog into the samurai aspect of the Japanese theme they went with there. I mean, this thing looks like it was designed for the game, or for the village rather than basing any. But they didn't make the monster first. They made the monster and they were like, oh, we need something that kind of just goes with this theme that we're going for, and then at that point, just I don't know. But that's just my take on it, and we are getting a little rambly here. But you know, when it comes to this is going to be the lowest flagship that we've ever had. How many do we even have? Do we count Nergigante as a flagship? Because
I'd say
technically, and I made this point. I believe I made this point in the Nergigante video. There was a point in time, like a year or two ago, where Capcom re-released the base version of Monster Hunter World without any of the Iceborne updates, like the Clutch Claw and everything that come without the updates. They released that for PS5 users, and the cover art was of Nergigante. So, I would say he does. So that's 1, then Brachy's 2, Zenogre's 3. Was Seregios ever a flagship? I don't think he was. I know he was in 4, but I don't think he was the flagship before. I think Gore was the flagship before, and the Fated 4. So that's 3. Laggy's 4. We got, I'm not going to count Anjanath. Kushala is on there. That's 5. And then, yeah, we've got a total of like 5, maybe 6 flagships on here. This is going to be the lowest ranking one.
Actually, hold on. Seregios is the flagship for Ultimate.
There you go.
But they only show Gormagala on it. Gormagala shows up on everything on the North American artwork.
Ah, there you
To
go.
be fair, Gore was an incredibly popular monster.
Gore is a great monster. I can't wait till we get to cover him. But, and especially because of the way that tree works, we have to do everybody in that one video. We have to do Gore, Chaotic Gore, and Shigaru in one video because it's all one life cycle thing. It's not a special difference.
We're
So,
gonna cover the Risen versions as well.
I don't think we're gonna touch Risen's because they're the same. The only difference in the affection of them is, I think, it's what the frenzy virus brings them back. Isn't that what that is? Or am I thinking of Apex?
Not too sure.
But
Admittedly.
we'll talk about that off camera. For now, Magnamalo, honest to God, I kind of agree with what Seth said. Like, the last place holder in C tier is Tobikadachi, and I don't know what to do.
About as memorable as Toby.
What's that?
It's about as memorable as Toby.
I mean,
The
honestly,
only difference is that Toby's got the benefit of at least looking cute.
and the benefit of
Yeah.
at least if I asked someone what their favorite monster is, they'll tell me Tobikadachi more often than I'll hear Magnamalo. All right, so I guess that's what we'll do. So we'll put Magnamalo right behind Tobikadachi and Viper Tobikadachi. So there you have it, everybody. Magnamalo is now the last place holder of C tier. He still outbeats everybody in D and F, so at least he's got that going for him. But that's not saying a lot given who's in D and F tier.
What you're saying
You will never
is that
convince me.
Magna is better than Plessia.
Of course, Magnamalo is better than Plezio.
That's a pretty high bar. Plessiov's one of the best fights out there.
All right. I need you to think real hard about the words that just came out of your mouth. I understand you're sleepy, but please come back to us.
And your thing.
Huh?
Oh, are we done?
Oh, well, we're getting to the end.
Okay, she's trying not to make too much noise.
You're fine. But yeah, no. What were you saying, Seth?
I feel like you will never convince me to move Kangala any further up or put anything below it in that tier other than like a few select monsters, which I have no experience with, so I defer to you.
Listen, what we can all agree on is every member of the Piscine Wyvern classification is going straight to F tier.
You know, I can live with that.
There's F for fish. Say it with me, everybody. F for fish. That's where they go. Cephalos, Cephadrome, you go on to F. Geratodus, you go on to F. Baratodus, you're going to F. Every one of you goes to F. Plesios already down there. He's waiting on you to come back. But I think that... What's that?
I was just saying, to paraphrase a co-host of a podcast she used to listen to, I do not respect fish.
Fish aren't real. They don't have feelings. Alright? So... but yeah, Kongala eventually will have someone beneath him in D tier. I hate to tell you that stuff, but there's bound... I know that there are monsters worse than Kongala. Are any of them of Primadius? Hell no. He's definitely the worst in that classification. 100%. I'll grant you that one. But in terms of monsters in general, yeah, there's a lot worse. Anyway, all right. I think that'll about do us for that one, everybody. Thanks for coming to listen to how horrible of a flagship Magnamalo was. Go check out the description of the video. Find all the links to the Patreon, the Twitter, and everything in between for that crap. Check out Seth and Ari's stuff if and when they get their stuff up and running. It'll happen one day. My dreams will be realized. It'll be glorious. Anyway, you got any closing words, Seth?
No, I think everything that needed to be said has been said.
All right, any closing words?
Nothing.
All right. All right, well, we're going to end it there. Join us next week when we cover... Seth, who are we covering next week?
How dare you put me on the spot like this?
Indeed.
The greatest question of all time.
Perhaps
Mhm.
perhaps a new monkey is in order.
Who are you implying?
Just any of the
King
monkeys.
Shakalaka
Um,
soon.
What's that?
King Shakalaka when?
King Shakalaka. Oh no! I forgot about him. We're gonna have to cover King Shakalaka.
It is a large monster!
Yeah. No, God.
Don't get roasted by the fake barbecue!
Oh, that means we've also got to cover Vespoid Queen.
Oh.
Well, you know, Ari, are you gonna come back next week?
Depends how much trying to pay her if you're making her come back for those two.
Oh, don't worry.
Oh, you think
will...
we're getting paid?
You think any of us get paid for this? I'll tell you what. I will give you a whole $3 because I'm gonna have to bring you in on a certain episode. I'm sure you're gonna love it.
Oh dear.
I'm sure you can guess who.
She's probably already forgotten.
That's why we're gonna have to have you in on the Giganox episode.
Oh, fuck off.
Anyway,
I'm glad I don't know the monster that y'all are talking about.
imagine you tried to buy a Kezu off of Wish.com.
Oh no. That sounds awful.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Say bye.